Welcome everybody to the Albion Giants League Finals. This week, we're bringing you our last broadcast for Season 3, and we're bringing you the Commanders Division, which is our Oceania League. I'm TIH Vengeance, joined by Supersonic Blur, and Blur, we've got Puri versus Pepehams, and we get to cast our friends from all the way down under.
That we do. And not only that as well, but whilst both of these teams may be teams that we've seen throughout Season 3, one of these teams is a returning winner from last season. That is Puri, who were originally Gems Please. This was a team who, like I mentioned, they won last season, so they are back at it again, looking to try and take themselves another title victory.
With that, we're going to go ahead and get into picks and bans for game number 1. And Blur, the Oceania Sea may have different metas overall, but there's usually still a few gods that are usually the same for picks and bans. So are you expecting to see anything extremely different, or just the same old that we've been seeing lately?
I think that both of these teams are going to come in with some kind of a game plan. They both know that they are deserving of being able to make it to this point. So you can't just treat this like we've got to ban just the same old, because if you just ban, well, the same old, then you're going to have a very difficult time. That said, with how some of the meta has kind of developed recently, we have seen a bit of a shift to what is considered the best of the best. So things like this Sobek and this Ra, while they may seem slightly strange given to what you may see in ranked play, these are two picks which I think are absolutely worthy of being top bans here. Super solid CC setup from Sobek, and Ra has a fantastic kit that synergizes so well with almost any other god in the game.
Yep, so Puri ban away the Sobek, Ra, and Hell. Pepehams go ahead and ban away Cthulhu Set. And it looks like they're discussing this last one a little bit, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit to see. So knowing this with these bans so far, what do you expect this last ban to be?
There's a lot of things that are still available. I wouldn't expect to see a Hunter ban here just because you never wanted to go with... If there's two super good picks for Hunters, you're always guaranteed to get one of them. So taking something away that's more prevalent to a team specific can be quite nice here. So they do go with the Ganesha. I was a little worried that they leave open a lot of things. There's Persephone is the first pick, but Pepehams here do have the option for 2 very strong picks in return. Persephone, a very solid mid, very good team fight, but there are some weaker points. You can't just make a huge impact outside of her ult unless the fight takes a very long time. So Pepehams, they've got some options if they want to try and deal with that. The Cupid, I like this Cupid, big kind of team fight ult, tails with the grasp of death very nicely. It stops people just jumping in all on one target easily. And Khepri does the same thing. A lot of mitigations for the team, the revive, everything is great. And that's the dual lane sorted. And with a very solid pressure look here, Khepri. The strange thing is Khepri, you always think about, Khepri on the team fight side of things. I always think of Khepri as, this dude is a monster when it comes to the first 3 levels, just from the hard clear he's got.
Right, so Puri answering back to the Cupid Khepri pick are going to pick up the Emoja Kabrakan. Pepehams themselves are going to go ahead with the Sun Wukong, and Wukong recently has been one of the stronger solo laners with the meta shift concerning items. So with this going to the second ban phase, is there any specific like jungler hunter that Puri you think needs to pick up?
I think that Puri definitely have got a very interesting look right now with this draft. You say that they need to be looking for a jungler. I'm here thinking, well, this Kabrakan could be jungle. It does leave up some options for a bit of ambiguity. The Kabrakan, there's the reason we call this god Fat Loki. A lot of high burst damage. Well, I suppose now he's technically the OG Loki at this point, and just super high burst damage constantly, but it's difficult for Puri to see what this team comp does right now. I do agree with you in that their hunter pick is going to be very important. I see 2 gods that have got a lot of control and a lot of burst, as well as a bit of healing. I'm still a little concerned with how they're gonna sort of mesh this all together. Pepehams right now, they are still as well looking for a little bit of a solid cohesion in a fight, but with the options of saying you've got a mid and jungler, or potentially mid and solo to be able to deal with that, they are also as well just looking for that finalized area that they're dealing with. Everything else they've got is super solid and can fit fairly nicely. So I'll be interested to see. We do see bans wise, the Nemesis gets banned away. Tsukuyomi as well taking bans away from Puri. I really like this just because Tsukuyomi could be a solo laner or a jungler in that look. So at this point, it looks like both of these teams are just trying to ban things that are safe to ban. And we do see the first lock in on second phase of picks and bans. It's going to be a Thor. I still like this, and I love the fact that Pepehams just going, you know what? Let's just wait on our mage. We've got good CC, good pressure, good ganks. Everything's super solid. We just need, what kind of ammo are we using for this? And that I think is the best look. You can counterplay. There's still so many gods available to truly to pick through. So a lot of things. And for my money, don't let anyone tell you this, but the Morrigan is still up. So Pepehams could pick that one.
As you said, Pepehams locking this Thor. Puri are going to answer back with the Chernobog and Hun bots.
I want to see
not wanting that Thor landing to have any free damage. So with this, mid laners, the last thing that we need to see picked up, unless Pepehams are feeling spicy, want to take this Cupid into mid, as we know some people do love their mid hunters, but instead it looks like it's going to be Discordia mid. Not even a look towards the way of the Morgan. Instead, we're going to have a little chaos in the team fights, the Apple and her Strife. So with these 2 comps going into game number 1, which one are you feeling more confident to start off the 1-0?
Ooh, now that's a very tricky one to try and pin down. If you look at both of these teams on paper, I look at this Cupid, Discordia, Thor, and I look at this and go, this is a really solid comp that's got a great bit of team fight potential, and you've got some great dive from the Sun Wukong and then defense from the Khepri. My concern is just, while they're very good at being able to mix and match their sort of CCs and combos and how their team works, I'm concerned about it having a little bit of, okay, but what do you excel at most? Whereas when I look on the side of Puri, I see we've got a lot of high burst, we've got a lot of strong CC, and our objective is just pick someone off, isolate them out, stop anyone else getting in. It feels more like they've got a game plan going in mind. And with the Humbats, you can never really go wrong. For my money, I think that Puri, whilst they don't have the more conventional draft, I think they have the more conventional play style, like sort of team synergy here.
So, with that, get ready for this first game, Blur. This dual lane I want to talk about individually. We have Yemoja, Cherno versus Cupid, Khepri. Now, Yemoja you would generally think would give you the advantage, but this is a Khepri Cupid. So, do you think that early on Pepehams want to take advantage of this, try and get the kill, or is this something Puri actually leans towards?
I personally think for my money that I would always rather have the Khepri Cupid lane. There's so much benefit to having not only the Cupid but the Khepri as well. Your waves are tankier, their waves take more damage. You've got infinite amounts of sustain with Cupid. Those hearts, they give mana back, which for my money is the reason we see a lot more of Cupid, but you can just keep going and you've got fuel for days. So for my money, it's all on Simply and how they play this lane. Clout's gonna have a little bit of an impact in regards to just being able to use that vicious barrage, which I expect to see, but it's very difficult. And like you mentioned, it comes down to what they want to prioritize. Do they want to prioritize clearing or going for poke? And that, again, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It is a sort of confidence thing for both of these two teams.
All right, getting into game number 1 here. Puri versus Pepehams. This is your AGL Finals Commanders Division. And Blur, saw a little bit at the start. 3-man in mid tier 1 tower. A little bit of protection in case anyone want to try to contest the Persephone, getting something down. But overall, both teams decide to go their regular starts. No one wants to try and stop Persephone early.
You say regular start Simply here, though, opting instead to shove wave. I believe he did get the ghost minions, so this is the old ghost minion start versus the alpha harpy start. And whilst this does mean that Yemoja is going to hit level 2 first, as soon as we do see anything else, oh, look at that Riptide, nice work. But I was going to say, as soon as this wave gets cleared, both Cupid and Khepri are going to hit level 2, so Clout will be deficit here.
Yeah, the Chernobog being behind is never a good thing, but the pluck comes through. So does the Harpum, but the shell comes out to keep him alive. So with that, Cloud's just going to back away while healing. Going back down the lane. This gives Pepehams an option to kind of stall these waves, essentially take away some of the farm from Cloud and Simply. So this could be a little interesting instead. They still get the 3 archers, but Pepehams dual lane is looking like they kind of want to take this fastly.
They do, and they did have Thor swing over a little bit in case there was potential for more of a kill, but unfortunately not quite low enough HP for anyone to really go for that. The interesting thing that I found from this is the fact that despite that initial thing, Puri don't seem deterred on that. Simplicity is more than happy to just keep tanking that up. They knew that they had the option of the sustain coming through as soon as they hit level 3, because do keep in mind that it was Riptide picked up at level 2, but again, we might be seeing some more focus here. We do see that it's your boy Sean might be making a rotation here, and that's a good way to start things off.
You have the level 3 jungler trying to get something done. Leaps in towards the Khepri. The Cupid's under tower, but unfortunately there's just not enough. Level 3 Hunbot is hard to gank with after all. No kind of CC immediately happening, and looks like Pepehams did have a whiff of what was happening as they backed away a little bit early there. So that Sean's gonna have to back towards base, hopefully get his boots going. But meanwhile, Puri's dual lanes kind of having to just tough out this wave. I mean, they've got the advantage a little bit right now, but it's not much they can do here.
You talk about boots and a little bit of an advantage. That's exactly what Tilly's found themselves in. This Gabrakan build, very similar to the sort of the Hades build we see, even going for an invade here. Isn't able to get the invade off and might actually pay with more than just their with more than a couple of pots here. Could be going down, but there's the Humbats to help a little bit in response. Beads, but unfortunate there. Destinate shows up on a rotation, and I was gonna mention that this Gabrakan had a great look to try and invade with this start of full boots, but unfortunately no one else was around to just help them on that.
Unfortunately, going full boots does mean you are sacrificing any kind of defense. And the early game here would favor the Wukong Thor versus the Hun bots Gabrakan. So unfortunately for Tilly, He falls for first blood towards Pepehams. That does not go to the solo laner, however, it does go to the jungler. So Sean's going to find himself down a little bit, but Tyrant Lee is only going to find himself up because of the waves that he's able to get right now. But that's going to even out here as soon as he has to back.
So far, only the first blood, though, for the side of Pepehams. Not too bad. And towards the later stages of the game, then it's going to be careful. But, oh, hello, Discord Hero.
Apple does quite a bit of damage, especially with the Capri plucked towards his own team. Destinate's trying to do what he can. Does manage to kill simply with the last of the double tap. Also going to finish off Clout with the last hit. Goes up into the sky. He was trying to look for another, but it looks like he's going to have to land back down elsewhere. He's going to do so in the middle of the lane. Unfortunately, Vintage and Sean unable to do anything to answer back. That is 2 more kills the way of Pepehams. They're finding themselves increasing this lead slow. Actually, they're not even in a lead. They're still down in gold even with the first blood bounty. So it's a little concerning considering their farm. But Tilly managing to get out instead of finding himself trapped for a second death.
And this has been really great work. Pepehams have taken these fights before the Humbat ult even comes in. You always hear it whenever a Humbat is picked up. Oh, they don't do much, but as soon as they're level 5, anywhere's a gang potential. So, is that Grasp of Death used? Yes, it was. Vintage did fire that off, so that's been taken. But hey, look at that! It was an invade that's actually successful. Someone else showing up, and vision on where other members on the enemy team were. That's how we do a proper invade. So nice to see the recognition on that and the adaptation from it as well. So really nice work. But going back on the point with how they're fighting this, Pepehams took those fights when Humbats was out of mana and not level 5. Humbat's ult isn't going to happen. You don't have to fear no evil when there is no evil to fear no evil.
Well, speaking of that, it looks like Pepehams solo and jungle were being a little hesitant here, knowing that the ult is up and Sean was pushing at them. Attempt to steal the blue buff away, not successful till he does manage to keep it on him, it looks like. But in the meantime, the mid and support are looking towards this quick solo rotation, but because Sean spots that out, instead of going aggressive onto him, they decide to just back up, go back into lane as the waves are coming in. And Vintage here's set up a little nicely to try and get some damage off, but it's not going to be much. Just clearing the way for now. A nice little knockback towards his own team from Simply. No CC coming off it. Vintage takes a little ride in that as well. So with that, Skies and Gaiden are just going to both back off and farm where they can. Now we have a little 3v3 over here in the mid lane if these two decide to meet in the mid lane.
Will be an interesting one to see. Grasp of Death comes out, and they're going to start a full fight. There's Fear No Evil and River's Rebuke as well, but so far not much has really come from it. Thor's going up, though, might be trying to turn this.
Beautiful dash out of Tori to get out of any sort of CC. Destinate saved by the Capri ultimate, and even though he was out, just in case, make sure that he survives no matter what. But over in the duo lane, Chicken Tendies 13 solos Clout.
Now that explains the Living Nightmare ult. That explains the Living Nightmare ult we saw. Must have been Cupid. Yep, there it is. Cupid ult's down. Clout's ult's down as well. So looks like the man fight did go off, unfortunately. Chicken Tendies was the better of the two. With the full Devo, or the full Devos, and starting that stacking, it does make a little more sense trying to take that kind of a man fight, and a nice look for Chicken Tendies. And it's interesting, we've seen this sway at the beginning of the game. The first 3 minutes, both junglers came over to the duo lane, and so we saw a little bit of an attempt at something around that, and ever since then everything's been focused onto the mid and towards the right-hand side, which is more and more used to seeing in recent times, and it's why we've seen things like Guan Yu come back in. The Wukong likes this situation where fights are happening around solo side, and for my money, I'm surprised we haven't seen Puri try to look at that as well. They've got fantastic lockdown, as we saw in the middle lane. We had Fear No Evil and River's Rebuke come out both at the same time, with only a small section to try and wiggle free from. So now also throw in the Cabrakan walls as well. That's a pretty good look for them, and could definitely help get this Cabrakan further ahead. We look at Tower, and they've practically torn that down already. Looks like instead Puri want to go Gold Fury here.
They do, but because oracles are on them, they're going to have to back up little bit, because it looks like we may be experiencing some desync.
It's
The
stasis
servers,
mode,
as
boys.
we have a full.
Yeah, it's fine. There's just a little bit more to talk on how things have been going so
So,
far. Pepehams, they've been 500 gold up now. You mentioned before that despite getting the first blood, they've had a tougher time being able to grab that. But just believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we are going to try and get this fixed rather than listen to me waffle on. So, would you look at that? I fixed it. Maybe I fixed it. I don't know. Either way, we're going to throw this to a quick break while we get things sorted out, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go anywhere. We'll get this issue sorted shortly.
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we have gotten that little issue fixed pretty quickly. So, on all back to it. And with that, Puri decided they just want to drop the Gold Fury overall and try and take a little bit poke towards the jungle laner of Pepehams.
You're never going to let me
The
live that
mid lane.
down, are you?
Who would ever let that go?
A kind, caring co-caster. Mid,
Speaking of kind
hello.
and caring, Thor's being kind and caring enough to share his hammer with the enemy team of Puri, but unfortunately for him,
cripple!
Silly destroys him after landing. Death Knight falling when he's trying to make the engagement go his way, but Tyrantly shows
Beautiful.
up a little bit late, uses the ultimate, trying to chase down the solo lane. Unfortunately, he's not able to do so, but he does have Vintage caught in the tier 1. Sean is around the corner as well, does not have the ultimate though, so not much assistance going to be coming out of him. However, Clout uses the ultimate to get over towards the mid lane, and he is fighting Gaiden right now. He wants to try and get something going. Vintage shows up to try and help dash into the tower, but Unfortunately, not a lot of damage being done, and instead, Gaiden turns it around on the Clout, getting the kill there with currently helping in the back line. Vintage having to dance around and try and see what he can do. River's Rebuke comes up. Currently is trapped in here.
Cupid's here.
Cupid is here now as well. They're trying to do everything they can to bring down this mid laner. It is not happening.
Goodbye.
Instead, the Kraken shows up, simply takes down Chicken Tendies, and now Sean's back full health as well. Gaiden entirely having to back up. Oh no, Skies
They're
is
not done yet. They're not done.
Awkward.
Kepri's pushing forward and almost gets caught by the Riptide. They're not done. Tilly is still going. This fight pretty much started with the dumping of ults, and now the fight has been going so long that Tilly was able to walk back in and get the ult off again. That was a very long fight that ultimately Puri ended up coming away the slight better of. I believe that was 1-for-1, I'd say, but even if that was just a 1-for-1 trade, you're the team that's behind. That's good.
I don't even know if I could say they're behind. They're up in gold. They have the tower advantage. They're only down in kills.
Yeah,
So,
and now with that
they're
momentum
not
shift from
down
that first fight.
in anything but kills right now. So this is actually really good. But I do have to say, it did look like Puri had a missed opportunity to take the tier 1 tower in mid. They were forcing Tyrantly and Gaiden back off. They did not have the ability to stay and fight, but instead, Pepehams are already back, and they're going after the Gold Fury themselves. Only 2 members of Puri are here. Pepehams secure the Gold Fury, completely snaking it away. Even with 2 members showing up late, they aren't able to do anything. The CC did come out. Simply, unfortunately, he's not able to do anything as the Emoja enough damage. But this tier 1 tower is being looked at instead. Unfortunately, the Hunter's not here, but
good night.
Really, both combined with their ultimates. Sean takes down Gaiden there, so this is going to be a tier 1 down in mid. Clout uses the ultimate to come over and possibly look for something else, but instead they're going to have to back off. It looks like they may go for this Pyromancer instead. They did leave Chicken Tendies alone in the duo lane, so if he decides to stay there, this will be a tier 1 tower down in the duo lane as well, as no one has the ability to immediately get over there.
Looks like that's what things are going to be, and it was very well played from Pepehams to find that little bit of timing. Pyromancer, though, Puri will manage to secure that. They even managed to get a Destiny in the process. Grasp of Death has picked up one, and Simply will be the one to find the last shot on that kill. Wukong now doesn't really have too many places to go and is being checked as much as they can, but Bird of Note will find it. Never mind, no! The blink is good!
Even though this is happening, Tyrantly is doing his job beautifully. The Cupid has pushed up towards a tier 2 tower. Puri are only now reacting to this. A full wave is now under there. Chicken Tendy's doing a good job of backing when he needs to. And this tier 2 tower is going to take a lot of damage here. This thing is already under half health.
That's
unfortunately,
really
Pepehams Tyrantly did his job. Not only did they get to tier 1, even though Pyromancer went the way of Puri, Gold Fury had already gone in their favor. Sure, your solo lane tower went down, but you have damage done more than enough to a tier 2 tower. And if Puri lose a fight, they may lose that entire left-hand side as a result.
It's been really interesting how Puri have dealt with this. I mentioned that Tilly wants to be involved in these fights, so I suggested, why don't we put the fights over in solo side? They went, nah, solo's already won. I'm going to rotate out. Something I absolutely love seeing is early rotations. So they've pulled that fight into the mid. That's where they were able to start putting out this pressure, and that's how they started to claw back in part of their victory. Unfortunately, this has meant that Chicken Tendies now has a level lead, a full kin size, and a fully stacked Devourer's Gauntlet, meaning with the pressure that they were able to get by taking down that tier 1 tower and halving the HP, if not more, on the tier 2, that Tendies now is more than capable of making some kind of rotation, and with that ult, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't hurt. Hello,
Vintage
that was
deletes Destiny as he tries to go up in the air, even having to look away towards the end, realizing he's taking more damage than he bargained for, but instead the ultimate coming out of Persephone. Guys using the ultimate on himself just to be able to get anything done. Simply is taking a lot of damage here, and even after the ultimate is enough damage, but still with the auto claims enough. Vintage cleans up Gator on the back end. Sean and Clout show up as well. This tier 2 tower looks like it will fall. Actually, there are no minions here, and tanks aren't here able to do anything about this yet. But now the wave shows up. Clout and team come in. We're gonna go ahead and take this tier 2. Looks like as Tilly is positioned in between the Phoenix and towers. We're having a little bit of, looks like, stasis mode issue. Hopefully goes away shortly.
This time we know what we're in for with this, so we are going to be able to sort of wait this one out. But this gives us a little bit of time to talk. And again, this is what I mentioned with Puri. Puri's kind of team comp I mentioned on the desk side of things is that whilst their team looks a little bit unorthodox, their mentality and play style on that is exactly what you'd think of when you want to try and to bring together a team comp. It's isolate, control the movement and spacing on a player. What would look like Kepri was fine and out, grasp of death. Okay, fine. You've used your ult. You've been able to slink back to the tower. Now, how are you going to deal with the River's Rebuke? Oh, what's that? Discordia's also there. Okay, you start moving back. The moment they almost make it to the freedom of out of the tier 2 tower is the moment that Sean has turned up and just fear no evil the backline. They have had such fantastic control over players' movements more than anything else. And that's what's been starting to sort of congeal into this mass that is pushing Puri into a lead.
Yep. But that sounds like we do have the game back. So coming back into this game, we have currently trying to do as much as he can with this tier 2 falling. Destiny's actually going to go up into the sky as well. Ends up landing on Simply, and Cloud has to use the Aegis and beads, but instead Vintage deletes the Thor on the back, entirely having to run away himself, forcing Chicken Tennies to dash out, only be able to deal with the wave. Puri losing no members, whereas Pepehams over time have lost 3 total just for this tier 2 to end up going down as well. And Blur, this kind of sets them up for a good position to do whatever objective they want. Oni Fury is going to be spawning in the next about minute. The one thing I want to talk about is the difference between these jungle laners right now. We got the 1-0 and 5 Hun bots, the 3-4 and 0 Thor, but the items, Thor looks like he's getting a little bit more online.
It does look that way. That said, the items that we see from this Humbats are very much just, I have got my goal in mind. Jotun's Wrath first item, totally fine. All your CDR sorted for 90% of the game. 20%, great bit of luck, nice bit of mana, so you can farm around more. This Humbat is looking to be an ult bot. They don't have to be full damage. We can see the use of that CDR. Ult goes through, and Destinate never gets a chance to put any of that additional pen and power to work. They have just been shut out, and that's why I love this. You've got 30% CDR, huge amounts of power, smattering of pen, all you need is... Unfortunately, the Riptide stops anything further going on, but look at Tilly all the way this up high. And this Grasp of Death as well gets shot. It looks like Puri want to set up around this Fury here, and I love this. You just got a fantastic pick. Destinate will be back up, but fair enough. Fury's going to be up just before then. It's going to take him a little bit of time to come around to try and defend here. And you guys have still got all 5 members. So they are going to start that up. And it looks like Cab is going to be the one to go for a pick, but it might have been a bait instead. So it looks like they're going to try and find 2 good picks here.
Unfortunately, due to issues with spectator stasis mode, low latency being turned on, this is going to be something that does happen throughout the game, sadly, but does give us a little time to talk. So we saw the Kraken using the ultimate, followed up by his support and jungler laner. Can't call it the proper thing anymore after that one. So one thing
I'm never casting with you again.
You say
That's
that,
it. I'm done. Can I get a second? Can I get a new chair 1?
No, you are stuck with me.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh, don't give me that. You and your puns.
That's true. Is this my punishment? For providing an entertaining service?
It's probably just going to be for this game, though.
Oh, that's totally fine. And speaking about just for this game, I do genuinely think that this Cabrakan Yamoja combo cannot be let through again. It's just been so strong.
All right, look, with that, sounds like we do have the game continuing forward past stasis mode now, so we're going to go ahead and get back into it. River's Rebuke has come up. He's doing damage. Puri destroys the Oni Fury. Destinate crashes down with the ultimate, though. Chicken Denny's takes out Sean, takes out Tilly as well for the double kill. Simply, though, trades out the jungler, and the Kepri ultimate's already been used to save himself before, so Simply's going to find himself a double kill, responding to the Cupid, but Vintage is here now, claiming his own on Gated, and now Chicken Tendies has to run away. Tyrantly is on the back line, but Vintage says, no, I want my own double kill. Let's go for this. Oh, they get the deicide. Tyrantly goes up into the air, getting his healing off. No anti-heal applied to him, so he's able to do what he wants, but apparently, oh my goodness, Vintage says, hello, I have a 3-level lead. you can think what you want.
He's not getting away from that.
That is just so BM, just standing in front while the ultimate is going off instead of just finishing him off immediately.
What started off as it was started off as an okay look for Pepehams. They sort of catch members off guards, but now this lead is starting to become more and more of a problem. And this Thor, like you mentioned, the items are starting to come online, but level 13, it's very difficult for them to find any real source of momentum when they come in. They get 3-man Thoro into Cupido, and that's everything. It's all gone. Unfortunately, as well, the tectonic shift kind of hampered the Discordia ult there, unfortunately, batting away. So a lot of the burst damage was gone. And after that point, Puri were just able to send everyone through, all the weakened members. We saw Tory Skies dash in on barely 300 HP, so really unfortunate. And now they've had such a good look with the momentum. The only Fury, it's a little unfortunate that they weren't able to have found too much push with it, but it's given them a little bit of breathing room to be able to look elsewhere on the map.
Yep, and as our little old annoying friend Stasis Mode has yet again returned, as we saw on the screen beforehand, Sean was starting Pyromancer by himself, got it already about half health, so he may very well solo this with the emoji on the map coming over, as thankfully Stasis Mode is gone already, so as I was saying, Simply comes over to help. Billy does as well, so this Pyromancer is going to go the way as Fury. And with that, they have advantage setting over Fire Giant, but they're going to have to regroup in order to do so, Sean having to back after taking enough damage. So Blur with this, Pepehams finding themselves down 7k gold, 16-7 kills, and they are down to their last tier 2s. What do they need to do here to bring this one back?
I kind of feel like I want to see when I always describe this as doing a pretty prime. If you have any kind of position who is super far behind that isn't your support, then the thing you want to try and do is lean on a 4v5, kind of show up to engagements but don't overcommit, and just let one player go and push the opposite side of the map. So in this case, it'd be push up duo lane and just hope that you can catch up at that point. We saw that coming out from Chicken Tendies. We saw that as the fight in mid was going earlier, they pushed down a tier 1, looked to push tier 2, got themselves a level and a half lead. Unfortunately, the issue is that Puri can counter that by the fact that they have Cloud. Cloud with this Chernobog is already pushing up lanes themselves that aren't involved in any kind of engagement, because they know that Living Nightmare means they can be in the fight whenever it's needed. They don't also have to worry about diving too deep because they have 3 fantastic peelers with the Humbatsu, Moja, and Kabrakan. So at this point, the best thing is that Clout is off finding someone else. We can see Destinate's trying to defend under this tier 2 tower, but it's already taking a lot of damage, and worst comes to worst, Clout just ults away and joins the rest of his team.
Well, even with his ultimate up, he does not get the opportunity. Destinate using his CC combos does manage to delete Clout, as he had used Aegis, it looks like, to try and save himself, but on this back end, Pepehams certainly finding himself low as forced into the ultimate. Billy and Simply both using their ultimates as well, but using it more for a disengage as Chicken Tendies threw his ultimate over the wall. So with that, this fight's going to have to disperse for now, but the Fire Giant still not being looked at. Wards being placed on and around, but only by Puri. Pepehams' closest ward is at the mid Harpies on this right-hand side of the map. So with that, I mean, this is a lot of pressure. Now, they did a good job killing Clout there, because
that was huge.
I mean, if Clout wins that fight, the tier 2 falls no matter what.
But no, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say Phoenix falls at that point. You either give up Phoenix or give up Fire Giant, or potentially even just both. And Puri, I have no idea what Clout had decided to do, but you have Beads, Aegis, and your ultimate. Your ultimate and Beads are still available. I do not think somehow that, unless the only thing I can think of is that Destiny got the absolute perfect tectonic shift, which caught Clout inside of the tower and also caught his dash, and he just didn't beads it and instead Aegis it. And even that, I can't see how exactly it is that you die with beads and ult up as Chernobog in that situation. However, Destiny does get a good bit of breathing room, and that kill, he's now on parity at level 17. So that's a really big boon for them. Heartseeker's finished. Now, this is going to be really useful for this Thor, meaning that when he dunks in, it's not just the CC. It is going to be applying more damage and it's spreading out a lot of that. The additional health, just to chew through some of these members is going to be nice. Everything that I see on this Thor, it feels fine. Even the option here of potentially going for a Magi's Cloak or Spirit Rope here, it feels totally sound. This Thor is starting to come back in, and honestly, like I said, pulling a Pretty Prime, just shoving up some waves, it worked for them because Puri weren't able to, well, get anything off a 4v5 in inverted commas.
And with this, Vintage finding himself with fighting skies a little bit as he was trying to find a quick pick, but unable to do so. He does manage to get to the CC from Thor through the wall, but the double tap unable to follow up as it is out of range. With that, Pepehams just backing up Tilly though, trying to do what he can, taking care of wards on the fire giant. And yet we're still finding ourselves at this kind of lull. It's a constant dance of back and forth between, do we want to set up for fire? Do we want to back off and look for a pick? So it's been a lot of back and forth between mid and that, but instead it looks like Vintage is being looked at here as he's being grabbed by the Cavalry Rivers Rebuke, being used to try and help him out. There are
It's a great
four
Rivers
members
Rebuke, I will say that.
of the Pepehams just surrounding on the back end of this.
It's a great wall from the Rivers Rebuke, stopping the Abduct, but you can still get a fair bit of damage. Like you mentioned, there's 4 members versus 2. The next closest is going to be the Chernobog if they do come in. Humbite's off over the other side of the map, and the Tyrantly will be able to just deal with Tilly for a lot of that to stop them coming in. We do see that Thor is now up. Vintage has made a fair bit of a break. They will be able to get away with a brilliant Aegis and then Mending Waters to follow up.
Yep, just enough time, but Destiny all unable to finish anything off. But Vintage through the wall instead gets double tap, but Clout trades out Destiny's life. But Vintage using his passive is going to try and fight here as well. Certainly forced to use the ult, but on the back end, Tilly falls to Chicken Tendies with the help of Skies. Now Tiredly's just going to do what he can to get away, uses his bird form to get out. With that, Pepehams have dropped 2 for 2 against Puri, but I'd say this is pretty good for them. This is going to stop any chance of Fire Giant or other objectives from Puri, as it looks like Pepehams themselves may be trying to set up for their own Fury here soon, but also trying to trap Clout at the same time.
It's not too bad of a look for them. They don't have any ultimates available on either side of this, so it is just going to come down to who pushes their buttons a little better. Clout being the first one in could be a little bit concerning for me. You don't really want to lead with your highest DPS character going forward, but Kinsai's, Atalanta's, and Odysseus' bow online, so a lot of Pepehams are going to have to be careful on this, and they are going to just man mode fight into this. Pepehams don't really look like they wanted to take that in the end. Sun Wukong took way more damage than I think they were bargaining for there.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's 4 levels down to the Chernobog item advantage as well. So he's unable to really handle what he thought he could against Clout. So Pepehams are the ones who actually forced off Puri, instead going for the Primal Fury. But the ultimate coming out of Sean deletes Chicken Tendies as well. No relics were up. So with that, the ADC is down for Pepehams. Puri, their full team now is back up. This Fire Giant's looking a little bit better for them to try and do.
Certainly, I mean, Fire Giant is on the table, like you mentioned. I believe it was, yes, it is Puri who do secure that Gold Fury as well. So, oh, sorry, not even Gold Fury, the Primal Fury, so that extra 7%, it's going to be really helpful for them when they do look towards this Fire Giant side. Also starting to come back around for them, but it's really difficult because now we're also starting to see that Puri not only have this great pick comp as well, but they have a notch of sustain in it as well. So even if fights don't necessarily go their way to begin with, as long as they can just weather through the initial bursting of it, which we did see Vintage do in the initial fight before the Fury, it then allows them to start turning things around just a little bit more, getting that healing online, getting just the additional health, everything. And when you've got tankier targets with lots of CC, that's a fantastic look for them. And with Clout opting to go in with the Odysseus bow first, that really shows just how they want to play these kind of fights. It's you want a lot of damage going through, where it synergizes so well with every aspect of it. And now they're starting up Fire Giant here, so well, it's only going to get better for Puri if they are able to grab this.
Yep, Tilly and Sean doing everything they can to stall Pepehams from getting in, as they successfully do so. Fear No Evil combined with Tilly's ultimate manages to pick up Gaiden as Fire Giant falls. Tyrant was able to squeeze by, but unfortunately Fire Giant was already gone by the time he makes it even close. So with that, gonna have to try and turn around here, get back, finding his mid laner down. The jungle and ADC are nowhere near this fight either, so this is going to be a little bit difficult for Skies and Tyrant to really do anything except for leave.
They've got to just leave as best as they can at this point. Wukong in Ox form, it should be enough to be able to get them out. Maybe Clout's able to try and find them, but Living Nightmare has been used. They do end up going on for Thor here, and they will pop the Mad Guys. There it goes. Members are grouped back up, but Vintage with a perfect snipe gets the first kill on this side of things. Tendies finds Clout, though, and that's not a bad look.
You know, and the continuing for Sean just absolutely autos Tendies to death. No chance for him to escape on that one, and he's continuing this chase. Destiny doing everything he can to get away. He's even going to try and pop the ultimate here. Sean unable to make it to him in time. So Destiny finds himself out at tier 2. Titanly still running away from Tilly, and he just doesn't want to let this go. He's still just pressing W all the way forward. Titanly turns around, but Simply is here on the other end. Gets River's Rebuke off, but is not closing him off. Does manage to knock him back, though. Titanly's going to be forced into the ultimate, and oh, the unfortunate self-knock back of the team. Tilly and Sean may have had Titanly had that not knocked them back, but either way, Sun Wukong finds himself up in the air just in time to heal. Destiny is just around the corner with Vintage actually staring him down with a wave here, so we may see a very quick death falling soon. But Gaiden is back up. Puri coming out from the fountain as well.
This is a really strange way that Puri have played this. Mid Vintage is trying to find a fair bit of damage, and everyone started to collapse back in on it. There's a great Fear No Evil to help. Beads from Wukong do get him away, but not enough. The Sacred Monkey finds it. That should be a good enough look for them to push further on.
My. Tilly just said, I don't care if you're ulting me, I'm still coming at you. And the Vintage does nearly 100% of his health. Tilly picking up the kill onto Gaiden, but also onto Tori Skies for a nice little double kill. Giving Destinate and Chicken Teddy's all alone. Destinate, though, in this mid lane. And Puri look like they want to try and end this game here. Chicken Teddy's under half health, has to go back to the fountain. But instead, it looks like they're going to make a play call and go to the tier 2 in the left-hand side of the map. They do have the ability to do this.
Cool.
I'd rather just get the structures down instead of trying to end the game here. It is a little bit safer. Apparently, we had 10 seconds left till he spawned, followed up at Gaiden and Tori Skies. Because their levels, they're not too high up in respawn timers, so that does present a sort of danger to Puri for attempting a Fire Giant now.
It does, and this is part of the reason why I like this idea. If you still got 3 members with Fire Giant, you're all around here, you're all very tanky and very healthy, so there's not really too much punishment for really trying to go for this. It also, as well, just helps you on the Titan. Why you can't end at this point, so just why would you try and just walk into the throne room and potentially lose 3 members and then have to wait around before you can siege up, when you could just say, let's get 1,500 gold, sort that all out, bish bash bosh, job's done, all good. We can then return, back up, buy up, and set up for more fights.
Now, Vintage on the way back is going to go ahead and pick up these oracles. A little bit of gold, no experience gain for him. Vision doesn't really matter at the moment. We still have another minute and a half for the next Fury, and it's going to be a Primal Fury again, so neither team too concerned with that, other than the golden possible Fire Giant damage when it becomes enhanced. For now, Clout looking at the Pyromancer. And this is where things are getting a little interesting. We see a lot of Puri are backing or coming back from Fountain. Only 2 members really going to be up anywhere on the map at the time, but Pepehams have themselves spread out across this map, trying to find whatever farm they can. So even though it's opportunity, it's not much of a timeline for it.
Not particularly, and now we can see that this steadily chipping away gold leads now sitting over 10,000 or 11,000, excuse me. So it's a really difficult look for Pepehams to find themselves in, and they are spreading out. It feels the most natural thing to do is spread out and just try and get farm for whatever members you can. The problem is that while it may feel the most natural thing to do, it also leads directly into Puri's kind of team comp here of just there's one or two members, we just pick them off and find problems. And Pepehams, their comp doesn't really do well on their own, and these Riptides, not a fourth time, but 3 times in a row. The Riptide causing problems. Clout taking it just for the sake of it. So
oh no, and over in the mid lane though, Aiden has found himself trapped by Sean. Destinate shows up though to help him out, so he's gonna be able to get away. Sean finding himself on the back end of this one. Oh, the double tap leapt into. Sean may find himself dead very quickly here, as the tier 2 on the right hand side is being pushed up as 3 members of Pepehams are completely distracted by the Sun bots.
In fact, they are, and look at this. I thought that Clout was going to end up showing up to try and help Peel, but nah, they found the Discordia in the back line and just said, yeah, we're full diving this. Meanwhile, the rest of Puri, they're off pushing up this tier 2 tower. That's been taken away. So whilst Puri may end up losing a couple members here, I don't think they're necessarily too distressed by it. They still get the tower over on the right hand side, but there's Fields of Love, which might say something about it, but it doesn't. And then River's Rebuke in response is fantastic.
Yeah, now on the back end trying to find himself getting out, but so does the Sun Wukong. Here comes the Capri though to help him out. Destinate crashes in on the back line. However, not too much damage being found as Vintage finds the kill, but Destinate's double tap finds him. However, Perception's passive is going to take place, so he's going to do whatever he can in this fight. Clout finds the kill of his own. Tilly answers with another, and now they're fighting into this Phoenix, but because the mid Phoenix is down, they can push as deep as they want. And it looks like Titan is the call after all. Clout starting this one up himself as Tilly was running back towards the Phoenix. So simply Clout tell him, come back. It's time that we end this game. Chicken Tendy's all on his own. Does not have his ultimate. Has to pull off the perfect heart bomb combo here if he wants the chance at stopping this one.
It's going to be rough, but Puri have played this so well across the map. That fight was started off as Destinate finds a pick onto Sean. And genuinely, that's in the mid lane whilst everything else is happening. Puri have been able to push and pull around the map so beautifully this whole time. You know, Tilly off in a great look, trying to just defend the rest of the team, and they are able to take away the win. 27 minutes. Puri, bit of a rough early game, but once they started getting things going, boy, was it hard to stop them.
Puri take game number 1 over Pepehams, 29-14 in kills, a 14k gold lead, and Clout and Vintage found themselves burst damage, but Tilly, tanky and destructive at the same time, a complete menace towards Pepehams. Blur, what do you want to see different in this next game to give Pepehams a chance of coming back?
I need to see Pepehams, I don't want to say think more about their comp, because that sounds like they weren't thinking, and their comp does have some relevant merits to it when you look at what you've got, but I need them to think more than just, these are really good gods. I need that sort of next dimension of, right, we've got Cupid and Kepri, that's a good duo lane, how do we synergize with it? Well, we've got Thor, okay, how do we synergize with it? I don't see how these gods synergize together. And in fact, we saw the anti-synergies coming out when you end up with Thor blocking off Discordia art, where you have Wukong trying to dive, but there's no one able to follow it up. Kepri can't ult members and keep them alive. So you end up with this weird mishmash situation of you've got 5 great gods, but not one good team.
Nope. And with game 1 coming to an end, Puri take the 1-0 lead. But before we get into game number 2, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break to get things set up. We'll be right back with more action. Stay with us and see you soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm TIH Vengeance with Supersonic Blur, and we're bringing you the picks and bans for game number 2 of Puri versus Pepehams. Blur, Puri have found themselves the 1-0 lead. Pepehams looking good in the early game, but the mid to late game things just seem to fall apart. So coming into this picks and bans phase, what do you want to see them do differently to stop Puri here?
I think you've got to go back to the to some of the bans that you've got available to you. You can't let Yamoja and Persephone both go through. I feel like if you're not gonna play them, you've got to take them away. You can't leave them up on the table because the whole thing, the first pick was Persephone, and the most lasting impression was that Persephone just ran through everything. It didn't matter when it was, where it was, there was still and always an impact from Persephone the entire time. So I need to see that come into that. I also want to see a bit more cohesion from Pepehams on their draft. Bans wise, though, we're still seeing the same kind of bans. The Hell ban again. I believe the last 2 bans here was we saw a Ram. We saw a Ra, and my mind is drawing a blank on the last one though. It was Ganesh. If good old Often is telling me in my ear. So Ganesh was the last one for Pepehams here, and I honestly I don't think you're that scared of the Ganesh.
No, after the last game, I'd have to agree. I think the Kabrakan and the Persephone are a little more terrifying than the Ganesh, but you never know. Maybe the Ganesh is the one thing that they think the comp they're going for will tear it all apart. But Puri, they're going to run back their exact bans from the last game, Sobek, Hell, and Raw. Pepehams are going to do the same thing, Cthulhu, Set, and Ganesh. So now, you see Persephone and Yamoja and Kabrakan all still up strong for Puri, but this time Pepehams feel like they want the Persephone in their hands. So Puri seem to be fine letting that go, but these next 2 picks are going to be a little bit important for them. Gonna have to see what they.
I would love to see. I'd love to see just the straight run back here. You don't necessarily need the Persephone. The fact that Persephone had an impact was it was her damage that came through. Yamoja was still absolutely devastating to see. The Nike, however, already a switch up on things. Most commonly now seen in jungle side of things. So change up there, and I don't mind seeing that on that. But Pepehams, they're going all out with whatever they can here. They're also going with a Heimdallr. That's pretty strong and not too bad, and can also help out with the rest of the team with just that extra vision cross map. That's really useful because Pepehams kind of almost felt like a lot of the time they were caught a little unawares about just how many members of Puri were always going to be around when these fights broke out.
Yep, and it looks like Pepehams for their last pick of this first phase are going to go with Tyr. Not someone we've seen all too often, a little more of a specialty pick or preference, but Puri. They're going to immediately answer back with the Tsukuyomi.
Oh, so far, that's a very scary comp to go in on there. Tsukuyomi, this god just does so much from so many areas. If you're concerned about Puri last round with this pick kind of a comp, well, Tsukuyomi just facilitates that even harder going in on the top side of things. A little bit like a Najar, except there is no brakes on this train, and it is one heck of a train barreling at you.
Yep, Puri decided to ban away the Nemesis. Pepehams going to get rid of Poseidon yet again. So it looks like we may end up seeing overall same bans, except Puri this time. They're going to get rid of Cirquet for their final ban. Okay. That's going to be answered back by Pepehams getting rid of the Cupid.
Totally fine with Pepehams getting rid of this Cupid. It was certainly a very solid look. Puri doing their homework here. Still going back with the Chernobog. I really like this kind of idea. But Pepehams, I'm still concerned. I'm not seeing any cohesion right now. I'm seeing we've taken away Persephone. I see the Tyr, which I'm not sold on in solo lane. I'm not sold on in support for this side of things. So I am a little more concerned for what we're looking to try and see. We believe it would be jungler and support would be my guess on what we're looking for. And well, going into this, it's going to be very difficult to find something that's going to do a lot to counter everything. But Pepehams are going to try it with an Ares, and a Susanoo. Now, Ares, sure, I can see some merits towards with trying to just lock down members, but no one here is really too fussed about losing that. And again, Umoja's Riptide, which we saw how big that impact was. Riptide isn't technically a dash or a leap, it's a knockback. So you can still walk through that, and Ares cannot do a diddly thing with it with the chains.
Well, Puri looking for their final pick here. It's going to be a little interesting to see what they go because it looks like they just need their mid laner. Quite a few good damage options open, but they are dealing with a Persephone. So this is something you pointed out last time. Morgan is open here, could give them their very own Persephone, which in Vintage's hands I would be scared of. But instead, it's actually going to be Discordia. So we just have a god reversal for these mid laners. Discordia versus Persephone still happening, except this time Vintage will be piloting Discordia. So this is going to be a little interesting to see how this plays out, as Pepehams are going to look to try and even this one out. But before we get into game number 2, Blur going into this second one, or do Pepehams take us to game 3?
I think that for my money, I just like how Puri played game 1 better. I think that they're just on a slightly higher gear going into this. Pepehams, they're trying to shake things up. Their comp feels different. They all feel slightly more like they've sort of woken up after that last game, but I'm still a little concerned as to what the game plan is for them. Puri on this instance is just pick comp, pick comp, pick comp, and I think that their draft should be able to will them out in the end.
All right, and with that, before we go ahead and get into game number 2, we're going to take a quick little break. So stick around with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2, Puri versus Pepehams. Tijvan is joined by Supersonic Blur, and Blur looks like both teams are going for their regular starts as we usually see across the board in these games. So for now, this Ares and Time Delay are going to have to clear as fast as they possibly can. Ares going to go ahead and get ahead, but it looks like the clear overall was even with Puri.
Interesting, they're both going for this ghost minion start, but OCE seems to favor this option over doing the alpha harpy, and well, even if that is the case, these two teams are... I can understand it a little bit more when you've got the Ares in this instance, just because Ares level 2 with flames and chains is very, very, very potent to try and deal with, but both these two teams instead opt to just go ahead and farm up a little bit safer. Ares is making a rotation over here to try and get something, but only will find a couple ticks worth of damage, unfortunately, which is completely negated by Mending Waters.
Yep. Oh, that off RB did manage to still go the way of Puri, as Skies was trying to steal it away. But Chicken Tendy's finding himself in a bit of trouble having to use the beads, but now Clout is simply both being chased down by Skies, getting the chains off. Unfortunately, because he split the chains, it was not full damage on the Clout. Shell was popped, so he's going to find himself well and healthy enough, especially with Mending Waters coming through. But over in the mid lane, the Strife hit just barely missing Kaden, actually, but hitting the Susanoo. Sukiyomi taking his Caltrops out to try and do a little bit of poke damage. But unfortunately, nothing's going to happen off of it. So for now, Puri's mid laner is going to go over to the back Harpies for speed buff, while Sukiyomi is going to full clear those Oracles, giving them the early vision and gold from that. And now over in mid lane, actually, Caden's finding himself all alone, having to back off this. And this dual lane is just farm central right now.
Yeah, it's really... when you say it's farm central, that is a great thing for Puri and an awful thing for Pepehams. This is an Ares. You don't clear the wave. You kill your opponent. It's why we've seen Ares solo in the past, because Ares just wants to fight the opponent and then deal with lackluster wave clear later. But look at this rotation. Puri, they're not just trying to look for any kind of invade here. They're dumping both dual lane members into the mid lane here. Hello?
Yep, they know and understand that their game plan involves keeping their Persephone down, and Clout is going to make sure that happens by getting first blood onto Gaiden. However, Destinate's here with the Susanoo, so he's going to immediately trade out Simply. And Clout's going to have to be careful. Destinate's trying to get him, but instead, 3 members surrounding him. The Clout will get the second kill onto him as well. And Pepehams ADC and support just pushing the wave up the best they can on the left-hand side of the map. Going to steal away the purple buff as well. Maybe look at the Harpy, but instead it looks like they're just going to go ahead back into lane, clear this wave, try and get that under tower as fast as they can. Prevent Clout from stacking up any more XP along with those 2 kills. And Puri over in this mid lane have taken a heavy advantage suddenly just by having those 2 rotate this early.
It was absolutely fantastic. Pepehams, well, so Puri know the value and power of what a Persephone can do, and so they rotate everyone in very hard. Put that down, never let them get a chance to come into the game, always make them feel uncomfortable. Not only that, but like I mentioned, we wanted to see a look for the dual lane for Pepehams to try and fight your opponent. Well, they're just not in lane. You can't fight them at that point. Puri not only further their own goals, and look, they're doing it again. They're just going straight back at it. Waves cleared, let's just rotate it to our lane.
Yeah, Tori's unfortunately not level 5, so he's having to just run away with this Clout and simply put some damage onto him combined with the crowd control. But that in that mid lane, Vintage actually almost was close to dying. Gaiden threw the ultimate when he came back, and Destinate was just barely not in time to be there. So Vintage getting out with his life on that one, nearly finding a return kill there. But for now, Simply is going to be the only death for Puri from that mid lane fight. And Vintage is just doing so much poke right now. Tori's still staying low. Aiden finding himself lower and lower slowly as Vintage is using every ability he has to just not clear the wave, but do damage at the same time.
But now that's a really good look for the way these kind of position that they find themselves in. Solo side, do you see a bit of pressure, but a beautiful blink over the wall, and Tilly, I'm surprised that one didn't come with a spam laugh there. Interestingly enough, though, boots-wise, opting for these Talaria boots, usually we think of Tyr when we see that, and I get all upset because I don't think movement speed Tyr is that good. Ult comes out from the Susanoo, but they are able to secure this. Will anyone be able to get away is the next question.
Vintage has shown up, uses the apple. It does fall into the Susanoo, though. And they're getting low on the side of Puri, but instead, Sean's going to find the kill. Destiny returns it onto Tilly, but Sean gets the second one to Gaiden. A third onto the support as well, and he still wants more, but he's low. So he's going to back up off the back of Clout and Vintage being here. And now Simply's going to show up himself, get some healing done. And Pepehams unfortunately just lose 3 all to 1 member of Period. That fight, I mean, it looked like they had something going for a second.
It started off that way, but unfortunately just everyone else from Puri was able to weather the storm a little bit better. There was no sort of major cohesion. It was just, all right, we're all here, let's all use our abilities and all ult. But again, like game 1, it doesn't feel like Pepehams have any synergy with this kind of a comp. You look at Puri, it's, all right, we've got dive, we've got a good bit of CC, we can dive, we hard hit members, we isolate, we pick them off. Pepehams, sure, you can isolate someone with Susanoo, and we saw almost an attempt at that at the end of the fight, but it just feels like Puri are the ones that are constantly calling the shots in this game. And when you've got a Susanoo, you really need them to be doing that. When you've got an Ares, if they are behind, Ares is absolutely useless. Genuinely contender for worst god in the game from behind. So this is Puri just outperforming Pepehams, and it's only 7 minutes in. Keep that in mind. So it's a very scary look. It's your boy Sean opting for the Crusher as well, knows that they're just there for damage. Last game, it was high CZR, but look at this. That was beads forced. There's a kill. Pepehams are able to grab, but it cost them ult and blink on 2 members there.
Over in the mid lane, Pepehams trying to get something done, but Puri instead, jungler going to take out Tyrantly, who made his early rotation. So now mid laner and jungler are having to back up. But with Tori here, Destiny's deciding to go back in. Shell is forced, saving Vintage there. Tori's going to pull an ult back, but Gaiden falls to Sean. Sean with the ultimate Destiny for a double kill. And now, even though he's in the passive, not a lot is being done. Tilly goes under trying to get Tori. He's going back in with minions there, but still pulling tower damage. So instead, he has to get out. But Sean says, no, I'm still here. I want this. The tower damage is too much. Vintage will trade out Tori for Sean there. But Tyrantly is back. Clout takes out Chicken Tendies. The 1v1 over in the duo lane. But now Tyrantly is here. He's going to try and force the death onto the Emoja.
No way.
So the tier 1 tower falls, but instead has to ult. Does secure it with that. He's going to chase Vintage a little bit. And this is a little risky. Strife will be up shortly, but instead he gets a damage off in time. Destiny blinks forward to try and help to guarantee it happens, but Tyrantly says, no, that's not needed. I've got this. I'm tier.
Now it makes sense why Puri are so eager to get these fights. That little chime that went off after Chernobyl got a kill wasn't just in celebration of taking the solo kill, but also Nike passive. Kill 10, get 10 kills, you guys get a laurel. 250 minions, you get a laurel. They're in a great spot, as you do see now. Chicken Tendies has made a rotation back in with the Bifrost, but unfortunately, Clout with that little bit extra bonus damage and movement speed is just that little bit faster to be able to get away. And now Puri are in a fantastic spot. Tilly being able to make that rotation was phenomenal. They couldn't quite get what they wanted off with pushing Ares back out of tower, but they are able to secure it. It was a little deep from Sean, though. I do feel like you are 6-0 right now. You have a lot of weight to your position, and losing that with the shutdown really does give Pepehams a little bit of a momentum shift and a little desperate air that they, well, needed, or else they would be just choking out at this point. So you got to keep it in mind. It is better to go 6-0 than 20-4, because you never give your opponent an opportunity to get back in. Speaking of getting back in, Puri might be looking to make their way in for a Gold Fury here.
And even with Sean falling there, though, he still finds himself 2.5, 3 levels up over Destiny. But this Gold Fury being pulled until he wants to all in. Aiden finding himself in trouble, has to use the ultimate, but the ult is used by Tilly as well, negate any of the damage and give himself a shield. Ultimate members coming in, and instead Puri find themselves committing into this fight as well. Sean finds himself one, Tilly finds himself the other, and Puri are just going to go ahead and back up off of that. I mean, they just found themselves 2 kills quick. Gaiden has to get out or he will die yet again. Currently in Chicken, nothing they can do to help. Currently over in the solo lane this whole time. Gold Fury did fall to Puri as well. And Vintage looks like he says, hey guys, Pyromancer's free.
I want to know what weighted die Puri are currently using for every time they roll on going any kind of engagement, because no matter what it is, they've always come out fantastically. Even just Vintage, I'm going to throw out Discordia roll. Is it going to hit anyone? Maybe. Ares ends up ulting and walking straight into it, which then puts them in an awkward situation. We see Piercing Moonlight. Is it going to hit anyone? Yeah. Who's it going to hit? Everyone in the backline whilst they're trying to run away, meaning that now it's your boy Sean is in the perfect position to try and clean up and create huge problems around the backside. Everything that Puri have done, go buy a lottery ticket now, every single one of you, because I'm pretty sure that the 5 of you, if you each pick one number, that number's coming up in the lottery next time it rolls around.
This game is just opening wide open for Puri. They're now finding themselves almost 5k up. Kills are 12-6. Towers, you've only got 3 tier 2s left for Pepehams, and we're not even 12 minutes in the game.
Yeah, this is a kind of a map situation you expect to see later on as Piercing Moonlight comes through. Sean destroys Destinate. This is why Tsukuyomi is banned. Do not let this god into the game. It's also showing why I prefer this in the solo lane, because if you can do that when you have a 4-level lead, bear in mind, a 4-level lead, then you're in a fantastic spot. Ares, however, not in a fantastic spot, currently getting dove by 3 members of Puri.
Ares doing what he can to take the fight away, but instead, Clout uses the ultimate to come in and go on to Persephone, also pick up that kill. Tori is going to find himself dead instantly as well. The passive coming out of Persephone is not going to really be able to do anything with the team not here. Destiny and Tyrantly are here. Ultimate coming out of Zeus. They're going to try to get something done. Clout gets deleted by Tyrantly off the back end of that one.
Okay.
But the tier 2 tower still falls. Tsukuyomi just getting what he can done. Tilly is under the Phoenix, uses the ultimate as well as slow down Tyrant and Chicken.
Did they just get this?
Holy Sean, please.
Sean,
he
please
does not
stop.
care that is a tier who can self-heal. He's just chunking him one after the other. But Destiny comes back in full force. He's got his team behind him.
No way.
So Puri, seeing their ADC, are going to back off instead of getting the Phoenix.
Just again, Vintage. I'm going to throw out Strife. We've got someone coming in. Root there every time. I was so concerned that Puri might have overstayed their welcome in that engagement, thinking, oh, they've overstayed. They went for kills, didn't get Phoenix, and now everyone's respawning. Nah, we can just disengage because we rooted them out. Like, that, come on, you can't keep getting away with this stuff. Yes, they currently find themselves up 7,000 gold, but it's so demoralizing if you're on Pepehams to look at this and go, what can we do? Who can they fight right now? Because unfortunately, the only person who's on parity is constantly being dove and constantly in an awkward situation and cannot find any kind of footing in these engagements. I mentioned before in game 1, a thing on Persephone is that she has difficulty trying to set up fights. We might not even get to talk about that as Piercing Moonlight just decimates through members. This is why, to be fair, this is part on the lead as beautiful Peel might be able to get away. No, Gaiden does get a nice shot in there. And now it looks like they may have overstepped their welcome. Puri lose 2.
Sean was in a 1v2, gets the kill. But then it takes a third member of Pepehams to come in and finish him off. Tilly doing what he could to help, unfortunately ends up paying the price for that as well. Over in dual lane, Chicken trying to push this tier 1 tower down left hand side, but Clout is close enough by that he's going to be able to come back, clear this wave, and push back. But unfortunately, because of these two members falling for Puri, they're going to have to play a little more defensively at their towers. And it looks like Pepehams are going to get this tier 1 over in soul lane, and there's nothing that can be done about it.
This is a good look for Pepehams. They catch Puri in a spot of hubris, which I think is definitely a good look for them. Trading out 1 for 2, it's always totally fine to trade even just 1 for 1, but you got such a great lead on that. Destinate's already respawned. It's your boy Sean still with over 30 seconds at this point. They're going to get themselves 500 gold in the coffers, which is a very nice look for them, but they might be able to get more as Simply's here as well, but I mentioned Riptide doesn't care about your cripple.
Simply still toying around with these two, and this is just not good. Rivers Rebuke comes up. Tori's going to pull him back up. But Vinci just showing up on the back end, though. Rivers Rebuke does collapse on both of them, causing damage. Strife hits them both as well, so damage is just increasing. Apple falls on the Tori. He's low. Clout finishes up that one, and when it all looked bad for Simply, he was just bait.
I don't understand why you Aries out there. You are a tier and an Aries versus your Moja at minimum. You don't have kill potential on that. You know Clout is a Chernobog. You don't have eyes on anyone else on the map. Why ult that? That wasn't even as if, like, you had Persephone ult who was going to be able to come in super quickly and follow it up. It was just, I'm going to just ult. It's a button. I can press it. And that's what it feels like at this point from Pepehams. They started to get something and they felt like they had to keep it going. No, you just got handed on a silver platter a rest bite. And you look at that and go, sweet. What else can you get? No, take that. Just take that. You weren't even deserving of that and you got it. So don't overextend on that. You just got tier 1 tower. You just got a little bit back in it. Now you've thrown your member away without ultimate for the next 45 seconds on that. And you're still in just an awkward situation. Stop feeding kills to Puri and giving them more of a lead.
Yes, this lead's almost extending up to 6k now. Still closer to 5, but over time, especially with this Cold Fury being started, it's a primal. This is going to give them a little more damage into any Fire Giant they want to do, more importantly, if it makes it to enhanced. But as we saw from last game, any objective that helps Puri get a lead is something you should not take lightly. And Pepehams, unfortunately, are in no position to be contesting anything. They only have 2 tier 2 towers up at 15.5 minutes into this game. This is looking rough for them, Blur.
Yeah. It's not only that as well. You mentioned about objectives that get them items as well that are getting Puri ahead. The way that they've built their comp, it feels so much like they are playing around the situation they find themselves in. Third item, Hide of the Urchin. Great when you can get more kills. Spear of Desolation CDR that makes more CDR occur when you get kills. All of these, both of those items alone want to be in a situation where you're fighting more. Talisman of Energy, great on a siege side of things. Movement speed and MP5 and attack speed for everyone when you're sieging up. This is a perfect set of items for them, and this is a perfect looking fight going in around to set up for a Fire Giant.
Vintage gets the kill off the back end of the Rivers Rebuke being used to trap Skies in. Now Tilly wants to keep pushing forward, but that thing's gonna have to use the ultimate to try and provide a little bit of peel. Ironly, he's a little tanky, so not too much coming from Tilly on him. But the rest of the Pepehams falling behind him back into this Phoenix. So Puri, even though they're showing face here, gonna back away towards the Pyromancer Fire Giant area and try and get at least one of these objectives, if not both, as fast as they can. All members are up, healthy, decently good on mana, and Ares is not on the map.
The only saving grace right now for Pepehams is that Puri have played this somewhat more of a kill-focused games. They're doubled in kills right now. And yes, there is a 6th level lead now for the jungler. So that, you can definitely see there's an experienced lead right now, but right now it's not being shared out across all members of Puri. Others are still fairly close. In fact, actually, we can see that tier is up at this point. Unfortunately, though, it does mean that when you get Tsukuyomi in the middle of a fight, they can just 1v3 quite casually.
Yep, the lead's on the back. Sean, meanwhile, gets destinated as he was running through, but Puri takes Fire Giant
Oh.
down. Tilly and Sean now have this.
And
Cloud
Cloud's here now.
ults in to come help them as well. So Pepehams, even though they're trying to get these kills, are having to be careful at the same time. Sean takes a look at Tyrantly, but he's guarded in front of him, so he has to Aegis. Run away, but Vintage is here. Cloud gets a double kill onto Gaiden.
Is that just game?
And
Oh, that's
Tori,
game.
it looks like, and Sean takes down the Heimdall.
That's
Gaiden
gotta
is
be.
just stuck in his passive.
There's,
Apparently, he's at the fountain. I mean, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, at this point, Puri there are low members and simply doesn't quite have enough for Mending Waters just yet. But if they can all start grouping back up, then they just need to wait for that next Omi. As soon as that next Omi comes through, it needs to be Mending Waters. Mending Waters, heal everyone. Gaiden might be able to find some. If he can find anyone, it's got to be Clout and it's got to be your boy Sean. But look at the peel that's coming through. No one is letting anyone get in edgewise, and they're just healing everything back up. Fire Giant regen on top of that extra healing. They're in a great look. Destinate has respawned, and with that, Pepehams do have the option to being able to hold here. That said, Tilly, on as low as HP as they are, has minions with them, so are able to push this side of the map up. The rest of the team will group up to join with them. And Mending Waters again, the sustain coming through from your Moja should be able to keep them going just that little bit longer.
Yep, Tilly was near death, but is now almost half health thanks to Mending Waters and Fire Giant.
Disgusting.
So now Puri's going to go ahead and push onto this left-hand Phoenix, but Gaiden is here with the ultimate.
Ooh.
It does connect, not with the damage, but it does with its root essential finds. And this has got 3 members caught from Puri. The only issue here, Simply and Clout are together. Vintage is going away out of Phoenix. So Simply's going to keep tanking this Phoenix. But Clout can keep doing damage as well. And Sean is looking to come in aggressively.
And that's scary because that's a Tsukuyomi being left unchecked. And this is now the problem with having such a high lead. Pepehams have got a great looking set of ults here. They've got Fearless into Power Cleave. Great look for them. But unfortunately, they're just not able to find it. The CC from Discordia is actually what breaks it open. Clout does fall. And that's a great look for the work of Pepehams. Now they're trying to just back away. And actually, Pepehams do and are able to hold it. Piercing Bullet comes out. And oh no, Sean, stop, they're already dead. Tilly finds the next one. 2 for 1, going for Puri's favor here.
And Chicken had to use the Bifrost to get out. He's trying to make his way back to Fountain, but not in time. Tilly with the shield knockback explosion kills Chicken. So this just leaves Gaiden entirely alive. Tyrantly, though, takes down Vintage.
Ooh.
And Simply and Sean are going to try and do what they can to him. Sean, with being level now 19, he's got such a big lead over Pepehams that he can just kill whoever he wants when he wants, as he does take down the tier. So Hayden, right now, for now, the only one up. But we're going to have that stay up here in a couple of seconds.
This is still terrifying because the scariest part about Tsukuyomi is, sure, not only can he kill everyone really, really easily, he also does a fantastic amount of damage to structures thanks to that Shingetsu and Mangetsu. You've got bonus damage on one of the 2 sides of things. You got cleave if someone tries to stand in front of you. You have 2 ranged autos, one of which does more has more bonus damage on it. There is a lot of extra damage that Tsukuyomi can do onto structures. He's got a lot of pen to back it up. There's 2 tanky members who are trying to just hold with it, but they don't want the structures. They want to go for kills because Cloud's back.
I'll go straight onto Gaiden until he gets the assist on that one. But Destiny cleans up the Nike finally. And Cloud's getting ulted here. Does not have beat, so he's going to get pulled back. But instead, Cloud with the triple kill manages to clean up for the Dia side. And now respawning is Chicken, and he's going straight onto Simply. But it doesn't matter. With the help of Sean and Cloud, Simply gets the kill onto the Heimdall, and that is game number 2. That is the set. That is the match going the way of Puri for this Commanders Division Oceania Finals. Pepehams, this game 2, it seems just could never find their footing. Puri, the Tsukuyomi, Clout is getting on the Chernobog, and then Simply with Rivers Rebuke, it just seemed they could do anything they wanted.
So well played on that. Puri, they just have such a plethora of options to them, and no matter what you pick, and honestly, Sean rocking it with the Tsukuyomi just goes, yeah, I can stick around. Yeah, let's just turn it, go back in. That whole fight, the last 2 minutes of the game was we ran for, we took mid Phoenix, we went left side. Oh, they held on left side. That's pretty good. They got clout. All right, let's back it up. Oh, they're chasing in. We got Blink from Susano, Jetstream in. What if I just turn it and kill them? And then Tilly's like, okay, what if I followed up on that? And then simply it's like, all right, what if I sort of sit around the back and help heal everyone up? And bear in mind, this is simply has 3 items and 11,000 gold. Like, I have no idea how much gold these players had in hand, but they fight for so long, Chernobog is able to ult back in as members are still trying to disengage from a fight in the Titan throne for this situation. Puri just come out on a whole other level this set.
Yep. Puri find themselves back-to-back champions for the Oceania League. But Blurt, for this finals match, you had to choose an MVP here. Who would you choose?
Sean coming in fantastically. Sean, I like simply, your emoji was absolutely instrumental in games 1 and 2 for winning this. Tilly, you were also instrumental in being able to fuel this. But Sean on the Humbats game 1 spreads everyone out. It's just a cherry on top for how this team comp wants to work. And game 2, I'm sorry, but did anyone else go 13, 2, and 12? No? There's your MVP. Like, I hate to boil it down to just kills, but there's a reason why this game lasted 19 minutes and then not even anyone is level 9 is level 20. So that's all on Sean there.
All right, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, today, the end of season 3 is finally coming to a close. This was Commander's Division for Oceania. We hope you will all join us next season for more casting of all these sets. Maybe even participate yourself. But for now, I'm TIH Vengeance with Supersonic Blur, often on the broadcast as well. We will see you guys next time.